It's important that we do have some time for ourselves to connect and to have a little bit of fun. So the first exercise requires not more than a pencil or a felt pen or whatever you happen to have on hand. We're going to trace our hand is step one. So, you know, since you can't see me do it, I've like done step one, trace your hand with a pencil on a piece of paper big enough for your hand. And then luckily I can see Kimberly, so I can do my timing based on how fast she does it as my reference point. Hi Penelope, we're just tracing our hand right now with pencil on a piece of paper. So this is the concept of doing imperfect lines. And for those who say they can't draw, well, I beg to differ. So once we've traced our hand on a piece of paper, be it pencil, felt pen, whatever writing implement you do have, what we're going to do is start drawing some parallel lines. And there's two options. I like doing it this way. There is some perfectionism in me because the way I hold my paper and the way I orient my paper, I tend to get more slanted. And then as we go up on the page, I end up doing more of a not so parallel line and more of a oblique. So I tend to draw my lines like this. And when you hit your hand, just ignore it for now and just draw a whole bunch of parallel lines. And yes, that does bother me that those lines are not exactly equally apart and straight, but that's the whole point of this game right now. So you keep drawing those lines all the way to the top. And when you're done, somebody can let me know. Oh, and I just dropped step 3. And I'm not that flexible anymore. Oh, and Penelope, just to let you know, we are recording this. So if you wanted to hear everything that we were discussing earlier, you can contact Keiko about that as well. And if you don't want your face shown, she can edit that out as well.
So Nancy, we're just drawing the lines outside of our hands.
Yes.
Between our fingers.
So we're ignoring the actual hand part. Look how fast Keiko is. My goodness.
I think she did it before.
I think so too. I know, because I'm like, you know how many times I did this, guys?
Well, you did it.
If I did it in real time, you'd all be waiting for me. So, all right, since Keiko is so fast. When you do get to that point where you finish all those lines, so then when you get to your hand, you're just going to mimic the curvature of your hand and your joints, your fingers and such. So hopefully that's clear enough to everyone. And then just do all the way through, obviously, where all your lines are. You see that?
And I guess you can draw the lines super close together too, right?
Yep. So as thin as thick as possible. And honestly, you know, do it as many times as you want to see what effect you get. Like I did, I'll show you different versions of it. So draw as many lines as you want. And so there's a couple options. So I'll show you the one I did with pencil. So those lines are a little bit closer than when I did the felt pen. And so I also went in and shaded because I only used pencil in this. So then I did some shading and just smudging in areas when I was looking at my hand, what was darker areas.
That looks
huh? What's that? So
that looks really amazing, like a 3D.
Yeah. So that the pencil lends itself a little bit more to more of a 3D effect. That's just what I found because I was wondering how that would work. But you could also fill it in with just like two colors because I only had two color highlighters. So then once I drew these lines, I just colored them in with highlighters, and then I tried to darken the edges as well again with the same color to try to give it some dimension. And I find that when I look at some of these, it's more 3D when I look at it at an angle. Oops. So that's two color. If we have some highlighters, for those of us who don't study anymore, I'm amazed I had highlighters. So that's that effect. And if you happen to have a kit with colors, I just went all crazy and did that and filled that up with different colors. And then I shaded with pencil to see what effect that gave as well. And what I really loved about this exercise is actually seeing how children will follow the instructions and how different it will be and how they take to this and make it their own. So, you know, and this project actually was something that was on my mind about how do I get people to kind of get loosened up and the fear about drawing, because we all just have to go back to being a child and just playing. And my friends' sons probably, I think they actually looked this up themselves on how to do. And she was just amazed, like, I can't believe they did this. And how on earth did they learn how to do this? And I was thinking, that's actually a project that I was going to do with some adults of mine in the group I was in. So I really had fun doing it. And, you know, the things that maybe I was irked with, I'll admit that I did kind of chop them up into little pieces, but that was only because I knew I was going to use it in my art again and reimagine it, so to speak.
Well, Nancy, the theme of this month is perfectly imperfect lines.
I know, and I was trying to make it perfect, wasn't I, for the group? There's something to be learned here as the instructor as well. It was bringing
too.
It was bringing up some issues as well with the imperfect line, which is wonderful.
What do you think about? What's your idea of lines anyway?
You know what? You know, when I was trying to do this exercise, I'm going, okay, it really irks me that they aren't parallel. Like, that's why I kept doing it. Because I had one image where it was, like I said, going all diagonal and funky. And I'm like, okay, it really does bother me as much as I say it's wonderful to have imperfect lines. But for this particular exercise, I felt like I really wanted it to look a certain way. And because I was saying it's 3D, and I'm like, that does not look 3D. And so for me, the imperfect line, I did tear it up. I knew that I was going to discard it or put it in recycling, that it's a blank canvas now for something else, for another project I'm going to do, right? So where it ends up, I'm not sure, but I know that I can accept that. So, you know, but for the imperfect line, what I like when we do the next exercise is really where that I think comes into play even more, is that I like that expressive line, you know, the unknown. And I realized when I was drawing things a little bit more realistic and taking my time and, you know, having the right thickness or thinness of a line, it wasn't as expressive. And I understand now that the artist friends of mine were saying how much they love that newness of someone just starting out in art, because like with children's art, I just find that just so lively and happy and expressive. And that's kind of what I want to capture, like in the things that I do now, right? And not be so what some of the bad art teachers I had, right, would say, right, that, you know, would grade you on your art, and it just kind of killed that joy. So just finding that joy of just spending time to reflect on your day, or just even playing, right? And it might not even mean anything, but you're just spending that time just like scribbling. So yeah, so the line for me, the imperfect line, is just thinking that as long as you put something down on the paper and it sparks some sort of joy in you, then that's really, to me, the most important thing. And you can learn from it. As much as you might not like it, that's fine too. It's, you know, that's what it's all about, is learning to live with some imperfections,
Yeah. Because,
right?
yeah. And you were talking about, when we were having our conversation the other day, you were talking about grocery lines.
Oh yes,
Lines. You
yes.
went,
And so that was kind of the thing that we were talking about as well when we gave the prompt this month, that you know, that line in itself, in doing the artwork, and also what does that concept really mean to you? Because I was thinking of like, I really hate lately doing those grocery lineups, but I think I'm getting used to it. And so that was more of a metaphorical kind of response to to line, right? And yeah, like, it's you could take it literally, right? The lines that we're doing right now, or I mean, I guess, you know, um, as well as what does line represent in your life, right? You know, where do you draw the line right now with you know, some people, right? Like, it's like, okay, is my tolerance level, is it, am I being more compassionate, or I'm not as compassionate anymore because I'm just like everyone else? Maybe as the cooler, rainier, darker winter weather comes for all of us, you know, like, you know, what does that line mean to you?
yeah, because the question we asked in the theme on the website, if you had a look at it, everyone, was can you think of how lines literally and metaphorically have been part of your life?
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Yeah.
question we were asking, and it doesn't obviously have to be, like, for me, it's so literal. Lines are like rules,
Yeah.
you know? But also there's always a start and a finish point. It ends. It starts
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, it ends somewhere. But for me, lately, when we were thinking more, out of the actual drawing of lines, I was thinking that my line's a bit blurry right now. It was all really clear over the summer, with the rules and where to, crossing lines. You have, everyone has imaginary lines in their heads of, the line that you draw, of where you cross, take some risks, and where you have your safety up to a certain line, and then you can take the risks over that. But for me, they're really blurred right now because it's just everybody's, there's a rise in numbers because of COVID, and with COVID, sorry, the numbers are rising, and everybody was getting a bit blasé about it towards the end of summer, but now they're again getting a bit nervous, and yet some are going to school, people are going back to work, and the rules are all, everybody's got their own rules of what kind of risks they want to take. So my lines are blurred. So I know what my rules are, but people don't necessarily respect those, or
Yeah.
they have different rules. So yeah, it's interesting when Keiko was thinking about this project and this theme came up. It's really interesting when you really dig deep and go in. It's funny because yeah, I wrote something down to say it. Uh, at the line will end at some point, and it's funny. I thought it was quite funny because the point is the dot. You know what I mean? That was
Yes.
funny. I don't know if you get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're doing this project, I think when you're doing your journals, and try to think of those ideas that we give out for every month. But also we have chapters. There's a big the notebook will go under different chapters. For example, behind, underneath and beneath, above, between and beside, and within and near. There are 5 chapters. So when you hand in some of your pages, photocopies or scanned images of your pages that you'll give in for this collaborative project, perhaps you can think of those words and what they mean to you. You can interpret them in your own way. For example, behind for me is the before time, what everyone's calling the before time, before COVID. That would be what have you left behind? But it doesn't have to be, it can be anything you imagine. Under and beneath is so obvious for me. It really means down under, because all my family's down under. And right now I really miss them. Usually by now I've done a trip to see them, or, but it could mean something else for you. So it's good to think of those general themes as well. The chapters, we're calling them chapters, and the themes are the ones that we give you in the monthly prompts. And this month being the perfectly imperfect lines. So yeah, who's finished their work? Do you want to show us? Ooh.
Look at that cake with the shape too.
This is like my Amazon delivery.
I love it. Josette, yay! I love that.
Oh.
I love that interpretation of it.
Oh, wow, Kimberly.
All right.
That's great.
That's great.
So
go ahead.
Do we have time? Does anybody need some more time?
Yep, there you go. Look at that. Love it. Love it. I love the interpretations. Jill, that's awesome. Rule breaker. I knew that was going to happen with some of you. Those weavers.
I'll put Jill's name in there.
Okay.
So more time.
Does anyone need more time, or they want to move on to the next exercise? We don't want to rush you. So I also put in the chat about what line means to you, like literally and metaphorically. Some of the things I was thinking of also the other day was like, what a broken line means in terms of my story and my lineage, because we had a family passing. And so when I was, seeing like the funeral was actually held online, and I saw some of my cousins who are about 20, 30 years older than I, and saw their kids. And I was like, oh, wow, like, do they even know the stories of our family on our side, on this side of the border? And they're living in California with the fires right now as well. So there's just, quite literally that line, that border line, right, where we cannot cross and connect. But at least, we can connect through, emails and phone calls and such. But just, like how one simple word can evoke so much, imagery, right? And emotions. As simple as something as not drawing a straight parallel line, in my case, apparently. So we could as minor as that is, but anyways. So
Nancy, we could ask if anybody wants to talk about what line means to them.
Penelope just write in, maybe. Penelope.
Dawn was waving though. Let Dawn, unmute yourself.
I wasn't saying anything, but I just wrote down a bunch of things. So
okay.
What does line mean to you? Ruled lines, rules, ruler, leader. Leading lines, where do they lead you? So that was just, stream of consciousness, what one line led to the next. So I just thought I'd share that.
Thank you.
Penelope wrote, lines connect things together. I was thinking you can draw a line from history, like family genealogy, that links back to you, and the line goes forward from you into the future. Yeah, exactly.
Man, Pan and I are on the same wavelength today.
If anyone else wants to say so, Josette.
Josette.
I hadn't thought about it at all beforehand. Lines never meant anything special to me. But as you were saying, to draw some lines in the, you know, above the or in the drawing that we were doing of our hand, I first did parallel lines at the top. And then I thought that my hand needed to reach to something. And then I felt like curving the lines, and it became like a sun to me, you know, and it was very funny, because very strange, because I hadn't thought of that at all before. So it's like reaching to the sun. And then I thought that actually there's like, that could be a transmission of energy through the, you know, through those lines. But it just, you know, it's something I had never, ever thought about before.
And that's the
So I don't know what these lines, that's what they meant to me, but lines in general, I really don't know.
That's fine. That's what came to you. I love that so much.
Ah. And you mentioned the sun. It's so funny because we've also, when we were discussing this project, we thought maybe if everyone, you know, if you feel like it and if it calls on you, pick a color that's your one theme color that goes through all of your journals, you know, something that connects it all together. And the fact that Josette said sun, because for me it was everything's yellow. Like this whole summer I spent doing yellow inks, yellow dyes, everything's yellow. Obviously there's lots of yellow in nature, but you know, even purple flowers like buddleia gives you the most amazing yellow, you know? So I was thinking that I'll keep yellow as my theme running through all. And it doesn't have to be, it can just be something small in there in pages that a continuing theme. So maybe that's something to think about. It's a lot to think about with the themes and the chapters and, you know, a color that connects. But anyway, it gives you lots to play with.
Exactly. And without even thinking about it, I mean, my first couple of books, and I know Penelope wasn't here, but I was talking about how I was very linear, and you see that in the way I did my first books. They were all blue, they were all like very graphic and structured, and you know, themes actually show up without you actually knowing, which is what is really interesting about doing a practice like this, right? You don't even think until you look back on it too, right? In retrospect, that there are running themes of some sort. And like you said, Josette, like you're not even thinking about it. And then it's like, oh, look at what shows up, right? So, and that's kind of the fun part too, is what is showing up doing even the simplest of exercises, right? Yeah, so I think a lot of us are done with this particular exercise. So we're going to do one more exercise, and it should be a quickie. And I'm thinking if I should do it the way I was planning to, because no one will be able to see me unless I concoct this. So it's this one. I think there was a link in the email that went out with the blind contour. I'm going to do it a little bit differently, but it's, again, a blind contour drawing. And so, again, grab a piece of paper, a pen, pencil, whatever you have handy. And the rule is that once you put that pen or pencil down on your piece of paper, you're not to lift it up. You're not going to look at the piece of paper. And what you're going to do is do a self-portrait, and I think we can all see ourselves on the Zoom gallery, and pick a point, maybe a center point like your eyes or whatever, or top of your head, wherever you want to start, and just start looking and tracing the contours of your face. And we'll see what happens. And so when you get to a point where you're like, well, my nose is over here, but I've drawn my eye over here, just use a line and just continue on with that line. So yes, it's not going to be a perfect representation, and it's just to loosen you up and to get that hand-eye coordination and to get you to really be in the moment and really be looking and seeing things, because I find that I tend to rush a lot. Even when I do this exercise, But if you do a lot, A, it loosens you up. Second of all, you know it's not going to be perfect. And when I've done this exercise, say looking at inanimate objects or whatever else, I find that if I want to be more realistic or in my drawings, I find that the proportions are a little bit better because I've done this exercise. But I think I will try to do it along with you. If I found my pen.
So Nancy, we don't take the pen off the paper?
No, and what I'll try to do right now is kind of, so this is kind of what happened when I was drawing, not me, that's not me with, you know, bosom. It's just one continuous line. So yeah, look at yourself and go for it. And again, those are the only rules. You just don't lift it off the page. And I'm going to try to do it this way on screen. And let's see. I don't know if I can do it this way because honestly, I'll be seeing my paper too if I do it this way. But maybe I'll draw someone else. Who shall I draw?
So we're not looking at our picture.
We're not looking at our picture. Right now, you're just, so you're going to look at yourself and then you're going to just not lift the paper.
So you could just close your eyes then.
You can close your eyes as well. And this is kind of, I'm doing it a little faster than what, oh, that was horrible. Holy moly. Well, no one knows who that is. I hope.
You're not supposed to judge. It's not supposed to look like anyone.
I know, I'm having issues today. I'm a prime example of these exercises. I need to do these. That's me doing it this way. I love it. I love it. And you get better at it too. But yeah, some days I'm on fire and some days I'm just like, wow, okay, I need to loosen up a little bit more. So that was just a quick little thing about accepting imperfection. Of course, you know, I had my commentary and my little demons there. So. And this is what I was doing last night. So that was me in the center. I think my husband's slippers, the pen. That was him kind of curled up on the couch. My mouse. So whatever things are around you, you can do that as well. So that was just a fun loosening exercise as well.
I think I've got a third eye happening.
Exactly, right?
That's very intuitive of you.
Yeah, there you go. Love it. So yeah, that was a quickie. That's a little quickie, like what?
Oh, really lovely.
Yeah. So what I do is because I'm trying. Well, before COVID, when I would go to cafe, because I was like, I really want to learn how to draw, and especially when I'm around friends who have been doing it for like 40 years, I'm like, my expectations and comparisons come into play, and I go, okay, I really wish I could draw realistic. And again, it's like it doesn't really matter, but sometimes it's hard when there are others looking at your artwork when you don't want them to, and they're doing the judging, and then that whole insecurity thing happens. But what I tend to do is I'll sit and just do a blind contour drawing because I'm not that subtle when I'm looking at people trying to draw them. So yes, doing a little playing and a little bit of loose sketching just to get that image and that memory down is more important to me.
How do I get mine? I need to say something.
Yep, you're on, Jill. So say something. Go ahead, Jill.
Jill, you can talk.
Yeah, you can talk.
I just want to tell you, I went to art school at Langara some years ago. And I had to do a contour drawing, just what you suggested, with a nude man. That was very, huh?
I was going to say.
I was just so shocked. I mean, my modesty just went through the, and here I am coming down to you know where, and my pen skimmed over that edge and onto the other side. Honestly, that was so funny.
You shouldn't have been looking, Jill.
Huh?
It was supposed to be a blind contour drawing.
No, but I mean, exactly. No, I didn't look at my paper, but we did a contour drawing by just looking at what we were doing and just not at the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have been really lingering around there to really.
No way, no way. No.
Oh my goodness.
Get there. Anyway, that's interesting. Should do that more often because I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. And what actually I think Dawn and a couple of us were talking about the other night too, is what you can do with this is what I've done is I've colored in blocks of it. So you choose an area and you can color it in, or even collage, right? So now it becomes even like more abstract, right? And so you can really play with it, right? Play with the background, play with choosing parts of it to color in, to collage. You know, do a self-portrait every day. You know, you go out, you pick up, like I went to the coffee shop and there's a little newsletter. I could cut that out. It was the color of my skin, so I could cut that out as like, you know, coffee news, what's going on, I need my coffee. Like it just, the ideas, right? It's a jumping off point for what's happening.
Mine looks
Barbara?
like a judge. You know, with all those curls and the big thin nose.
Let's see, Barbara, hold it up.
I'd like to
It's
see
really
it.
off. Oh my God.
It's fine. Oh my God.
Wow.
I love it.
It's amazing.
The reason I end is because I ended at the rings, and then I went off the piece of paper. But oh my God, I do look like an English judge. Yay.
I'll show you my third eye.
Oh, there you go. Love it.
I have a third eye as well.
Oh, you too.
I cheated because I just came across this woman who would do
Wow.
line contour self-portraits, but then she would go in after she'd done the wonky self-portrait and then like take that further and make it into actually start doing some realistic shading and stuff like that. So I thought I would give that a try, and it's very Picasso-like with my three eyes.
Very mess. Very. I love it.
I think this is a true image of myself, though. I do tell the boys I have eyes at the back of my head.
There you go.
Yeah. That's funny.
But I was doing this one when Nancy was saying, just look at your portrait.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Can you see that?
Yep, we can see at that
That
angle.
was
Yep.
when I was looking at my portrait and doing it. So,
Yeah.
Never actually done that properly like that without taking the pen off the paper.
Yeah, and it changes too, right? And then there's like variations on it where you can lift the pen, or you do a contour drawing, right? So the next thing would be, if you feel like it, then you now do the next step where you could just look, but only every so often to get your landmarks, right? So it's just a fun thing to do. Like on a day where I think I really just don't feel like drawing, or I don't think I can draw, I'm going, well, we know this isn't going to end up anywhere near perfection, right? And then you can play with it, right? So
yeah. Can anyone else share this?
Oh,
Barbara.
I love it. She did the whole.
That
was quick. Oh,
yeah,
Jill. Oh my gosh, I love that, Jill.
Well, that's just, I love to doodle, so I just went berserk.
I love it. I love it.
You can see Penelope's now too.
Oh wait, can we?
If she puts it higher, it gets a bit low.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, nice.
That looks so much like you. I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
That looks so what?
So much
I,
like you.
I thought, oh wait, she might not like that.
I don't care. That's it.
We saw yours, Gail. Kimberly, did you do one? Oh, it's because of a pencil, I think. I can't see it so well. It's really light. That's wonderful. Does anybody want to share what they want to get out of this workshop? The 6 months. You know that you can hand in.
And that was from the garden.
That's lovely. You could even draw that. I love that color.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do when you suggested a contour. I was going to do this one.
Perfect.
Little pumpkin.
I was going to say that you can, on the email that we send you mid-November, I think it'll be mid-November, right, Keiko? For a reminder for next month's prompt, there'll also be an email there, an address you can send your scanned images or photos of your work. And honestly, it does not have to be professional, right? We just want, it's a personal thing, journals. So it can be whatever you want to share, but you know that it will be made into a notebook and it'll make its rounds in the libraries, and it's going to be pretty amazing at the end. And incorporate whatever you have as your, whatever you use as well as your media, as you can use any media. You don't have to just use what we're doing here. These are just, what did we call it, Nancy? Your toolbox?
Yeah, we called it extra tools in your toolbox when you. Yeah.
So whatever you learn in these workshops will just be to add to your already talented toolbox. So use whatever mediums you have.
So go crazy drawing everything blindly.
Or just sticking things.
I'm sure the family.
Or painting.
Or painting.
Or you can just write, right?
Exactly.
You can just write things down.
Yep. Exactly. Or stream of consciousness with continuous line.
Sarina, I'm not sure I understood what you wanted us to do for next week. Are you going to write something online for us, or is it just what you just said? And if so, could you repeat it, please?
Sure. So every month there is a theme of what we'll cover in the class, right? And 2 weeks before the actual class, which will be the first Monday of next month, you'll get some prompts like you did. Did you see the email? You had some videos to watch.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
So you mean 2 weeks before next meeting, which is at the beginning of November. So about mid-October, we'll get something else from you.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So Keiko will send that. And but also in that email will be a reminder to send in whatever work you have. If you've done some pages and you finished it, it would be great we could start collecting from the beginning. Okay. Like your pages, for example, right? Like, if I wanted to send something like this, but this doesn't cover the themes that I'm working on right now for this. This was my own journal, but I'm going to work on something according to what we just talked about, resilience and imperfect lines, and just incorporate what you have.
Okay, but do we need to start our journal booklet?
No, you don't. You can just put it on you can just have pieces of paper that you work on. Okay. You don't have to have a booklet. Okay. But obviously, if you have a booklet handy already, it's, it keeps everything in the one place. But you don't have to have special things.
Thank you.
Sure. And oh, sorry.
We have lots of leftover art supply materials. So if you need any additional art supplies like crayons, colored papers, scissors, tapes, glues, like a fabric, anything, but you will receive sort of random box full of supply if you need to. It might be a bit of a mix of everything. it's hard to predict exactly what would that be, but that's also available if you like to use those at supply.
Yeah.
Let me know.
And I'm okay to pick up and drop off to anybody locally. So just let me know if you need that help. But I wanted to show you something that you could also use. Oh my goodness, my light is so bad. This is a really old agenda that Martin had from his work, but it's literally like an old calendar, right? So I just stuck things in it and I've painted over some pages and added my own pictures to it, and then I write. But it's literally from Olympics time. Yeah, 2010.
Yeah.
There you go. Dutch agenda from 2010. But it's a strong book. It's a really hard cover, and you know, that becomes my journal now. It's just reused, recycled, right?
Yep.
So if you have that possibilities, try to do that. Don't go out and buy stuff. Just use what you have.
Yeah. So we were just talking, I think, the other night about things like where you can pick up catalogs for free, like at the liquor store, for example, and you know, take any type of booklet and you can exactly do that. Paint over it and glue over it with images, or some of the projects that we're doing here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be precious, right?
We can show you that next time
Yeah.
too. November,
Yeah.
we'll show you how to make
Yeah.
some quick booklets out of, we'll send you the email to remind you of materials, but if you could keep your old, you know, cornflakes boxes, or, you know, your cookie boxes. Everybody's eating cookies these days on the couch, watching shows, right? So keep those boxes. And, you know, if you have some sort of sandpaper or something, we just need to sandpaper it down, but we'll show you all that. Because you can literally make journals and notebooks with anything you have, and some needle and thread to sew it, you know, with the 3-stitch, can you see that? Literally 3 holes, and it really holds well. So yeah.
And it says Penelope is here. Did you want to pull out, you know, it's a fancier, your Coptic book and your everyday journal, just as another example, because I know that she's actually been visual journaling for quite a number of years.
You mean the giant one?
Bring out the giant one as an example of collections, and then your daily journal maybe.
Sure.
And then
just need to turn on a light so I can see.
Yeah, thank you. That's what happens when you show up and you know people. Because Penelope also has a very different style from us, right? So I thought it would be lovely for others to see what is also possible. Not an expectation, because this is the Coptic one that she's going to show is quite an advanced way of making a journal. But the reason why I want her to show it is because it's a brilliant idea for people like me who collect a lot of paper and random things. I want to keep that memory. She's kind of done that and uses it as her book that she has on hand all the time when she doesn't know what to do with the bits. And I hope that's explaining it in a nutshell. So yeah, like if you could show that, that would be lovely. Thank you, Pen.
I just need to move my camera down. So.
Okay. And then the other thing that I was going to ask her to show is, like, she actually works on a journal on a daily basis and works a little bit more linearly. But again, that's a handmade journal as well. So just some other ideas.
Just give it. So the reason I started this book was I had all these things that are just laying around my desk, and they're too precious to throw away, but they're too precious to use. So I thought I just need a place to keep all those things that I can't bear to throw away, but I can't bear to use either. So I just started this journal, and it's really huge. It's 9 inches by 9 inches by 3 inches, and it's Coptic bound. So it's all stitched together. And I just started gluing everything into the book. And I would choose a color for the page, and then when I found something, I would just figure out which page it belonged to. And sometimes themes develop, and sometimes it's all about the colors. This one I was just playing with new art supplies to see what they did. And but sometimes I just sort of painted, like chose a color, started pick up a piece of something and see if it all fits together. So there's not very much I don't really think ahead about what's going to go where. I just put it all together. And I started by just collaging the background, and now I just keep adding new things to it. So it's really, there's some pages I haven't worked on very much. Again, another page where I was just playing with pattern. I thought I would collage on top of it, but I can't bear to now because it's just perfect the way it is. And this was just scrap paper that I had paint on, and I just glued all the scrap paper down. So I just keep adding to it.
Nice.
So this doesn't really have a theme apart from color and whatever fits next to it. Whatever I think is interesting, it just goes on the page. But it lives on my desk all the time, and I add to it all the time. This is probably 6 years old, at least 5 or 6 years old. And it's probably never going to be finished.
It's really inspiring.
Thank you. I just keep adding things to it and adding things to it and adding things to it. So
There's a contour drawing.
yeah, actually, I was making a present for someone, and I was looking for a map, and then after I found the map, I realized it had a face in it.
I love it.
So I kept a copy of it for myself. I made a copy of the map I found. It was a contour map. And then I realized, oh, I want to have a face in here. So, and it's just like little random things like, oh, that's kind of cool. I have to hang on to that. So this is the other thing. This one doesn't really have a theme apart from color. And sometimes like little relationships between things will develop, or you put them next to each other and suddenly they have a relationship, which is kind of interesting.
Tell the banana story. Tell the banana story.
Oh, the banana story. Okay, let me just hold it up so you can see. So there was, this was, I don't know, it was a brand of bananas, and they had a contest. You could submit your drawing and they would turn the drawing into a label for the bananas. So for about a year, every time we went into the grocery store, the bananas had different labels designed by different people, and I would go through and stick them on my arm. And collect all of the banana labels, because I just thought, oh, that's so cool. All these people are doing these little designs with bananas.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
And it just happened that I had this page. I can't remember the woman who did this painting. She's local, but she always does these people with interesting noses. And I thought, look at the colors on his face. They go so well with the banana labels. I'm like, yeah, this is what he collects. He collects banana labels because they remind him of himself. So it's just like I say, just random things, mostly starting with color and pattern and texture, but then the themes develop, which is kind of interesting.
And exactly, that's what we're talking about, like themes emerge.
I have
beautiful.
years of, I made flashcards for my grandchildren. Two live one lives in Australia, 2 in Turkey. So they're like 18 categories, fruits, animal noises, stuff like that. And I always wondered what I should do with the pictures that I took of them.
There you go. There you go.
But some are like, I cut up probably about 4,000 magazines for different things, and then now I just cut up for color. But I cut up letters, and I have like 26 bottles, and I put the letters in the bottles.
Oh, wow.
I think a great collection.
That's wonderful to compile.
5:28, everyone. Just keeping time.
Yep.
But just have to make a comment there. Kimberly, is that a lizard on you?
Is that a what?
Lizard.
It is. It is. She fell asleep and I couldn't take her off.
Oh, yeah. I love that so much. Someone needs to sketch that.
Oh, Penelope's journal was distracting me.
No.
Lizard was also distracting me.
So
it's beautiful. So much inspiration.
And then we'll cap off with Penelope's everyday journal.
So these are my everyday journals, and this is my current one. I always have this with me, and I have a coil binding machine, so I just make it coil bound because it's the most flexible to use. And I take printer paper from work, you know, the stuff that they throw away in the recycle bin. I fold it in half. So it's kind of like the insides or something, like this is an invoice or something that got printed and wasn't needed. So it's a way of recycling paper from work. But what I do, let's see if I can get to, this one is just whatever's happening in my life. So just trying to get to, because I was working on the coronavirus, the little mini zine about coronavirus. So I printed out the instructions. But what I try to do is I work ahead on the page. I draw, I draw the lines so that I can write on. And then as things happen in
We've
my
lost
life.
you, Penelope.
Sorry?
Was that Dot or Serena? Who said that?
I thought we lost her.
Oh,
Is that okay? Or?
no, I didn't lose her. Did you lose her?
Keep going, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I do is I work ahead and I stick down a few images and then I gradually fill in as things happen in my life. So working on floor plans, or, you know, if I'm listening to a podcast, I'll write things down. And then at the beginning of each month, I'll do a little calendar just by hand. I'm kind of in the middle of some things right now. So this is a page, these are pages where nothing much has happened yet. And then it goes straight into the empty pages that I haven't done anything. But then when I'm done with the pages, they get all filled up. They get filled up with all kinds of little notes and bits of washi tape and funny things, things you find in magazines. What is a collage artist? It was World Collage Day.
Wow.
In August, the 15th was World Collage Day. Bet we didn't know that. And then I heard this great story about the Pomodoro Method. I don't know if you guys have heard about the Pomodoro Method. It's you set yourself a goal that you want to achieve. So you set a timer for 15 minutes and you work on the goal for 15 minutes. And when the timer goes off, you take a little break. And if you're not done, you set the timer again for 15 minutes and then you take another little break. And it was called the Pomodoro Method because the man who invented it, let's see if I can move this so you guys can see it. The man who invented it named it after the little timer he had, which was a tomato. And it was a Pomodoro tomato timer. So that's what he called the method. And you just keep setting the timer for 15 minutes until you finish the task or until you're done for the day. And I just thought that's such a great way to name a method of doing something after your timer. So it's just random little things that I find. But and this I turned 60 this year. I don't celebrate my birthday, but this year it seems significant because it's all the craziness that's going on. So I thought I'm going to make a whole page just about that.
Perfect. So,
anyway, this is my everyday journal, and I'm adding to it all the time. I don't think ahead about what's going to go in it. I just find interesting things, and gradually the pages fill up. And then when I look back, I've been doing this for 40 years.
Wow.
So if I look back, you were talking about the connection of lines. Yeah. If I go back and read my old journals, I'm right back to that place and that time and who I was and what was happening and what was important. Yeah. So it's like such a great way to keep in touch with your own life. It's pretty interesting. I don't think I'm the only one who does this, but I just kind of hit upon this method of a mix of images and text and interesting things, and without judgment, just let it flow in. And then you read back, you think, gosh, this person's had a really interesting life. Because you forget things. You totally forget things.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyway, that's my everyday journal. And I've started covering the coils by sewing a fabric spine on so that they don't all look like just a bunch of coils on the shelf. So they look like they're actually proper books.
They look beautiful.
How do you attach the paper to coil? Do you have something like a tool?
There's a punch that punches the holes, and then you have a plastic spiral, and you just put you feed the plastic spiral through the holes.
Okay. Wow.
And I've had one for a long time. I bought one like 10 years ago, but I work in a printing shop. So I've been using one at work for 30 years, and I finally bought one for myself at home because I got tired of taking all my paper to work and then punching it and bringing it all back home again.
So this
I
is
like the idea that, you know, using recycled paper, folding half the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have like boxes and boxes of this paper that was just going in the recycling. And one day I thought, this is really nice paper. This is better than computer paper. I'm just going to fold it in half, and that's going to become what I make my pages out of now.
Yeah.
So I just like start by gluing a little bit of washi tape or a bit of torn paper, and then it just gradually I add on things. Like I put these in the other day. There's a little pocket and some lined paper. I haven't got there yet. I don't know what I'm going to write on it. It doesn't matter. It's all part of how it happens.
And I think that's what I love about you showing this, is that for me, I do have that blank page kind of fear, and then I end up filling it with so many words sometimes. I'm like, oh, I forgot about the imagery. So doing this is also quite a lovely way of incorporating into a daily practice. So
if I was really smart, I would take pictures of each stage.
Yeah.
Like I was just looking at this page, and you can barely see, but this page started by taking a dollar store stencil and just tracing the coloring in the letters from the dollar store stencil. Then I drew the lines on, and then I started gluing stuff on top, and then I started writing on top.
Yeah.
So it's got about 4 layers, and the whole thing has a kind of finished look to it, but none of it was planned. It all just happened accidentally as the process went on. If I was smart, I would take pictures of the stages.
It's a good idea sometimes to keep your papers ready, with backgrounds. Like I just tend to do that too, because I have more time.
Yeah.
It's fun for me to just make things like, little boxes. Can you see that? Or, oh my goodness, oops.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make boxes like that. I love spending time, because it's just as fun to prepare some pages in advance.
And you don't have to work that far ahead. Like 3 or 4 pages ahead is all you need. And then you just keep working on it. So it's just like this random little stuff, just whatever happens.
But Penelope, you're going way too fast with those, but we need to save that for next time. If you could show us again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we'd love to see some more, but going slowly, turning the page.
Yeah, we're just like, all right, time is at the end.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, I love it. We love it, but we'd love to see more.
Part of me thinks it's not that interesting to other people.
It's like, good ideas, so I think it's very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. Amazing.
Thank you, Pen.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, I'm gonna put my camera back up again.
So it's time to finish up.
Yes.
Does anybody have any thoughts they want to share before we end today?
Questions, concerns?
I wouldn't mind seeing the beginning I missed. I'm sorry, I just couldn't get into the meeting, so I would love to see that at some point.
Yeah.
Just so I know what we're all supposed to be doing.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, for sure. You don't want to miss the beginning.
Yeah.
But okay, so should we end here then?
I think so.